It starts quietly. No one notices at first. You're 7 years old, staring into the eyes of a parent who's falling apart. Maybe it's addiction. Maybe it's anger. Maybe it's just the hollow silence of someone too broken to show up. And in that silence, something ancient clicks inside your small mind. If I don't hold everything together, no one will. That's the moment it begins, the slow disappearance of a child. Not physically, but emotionally. You start smiling more, crying less. You learn to read every room before you speak. You become the emotional thermostat of your home, keeping everyone calm, keeping everything okay. And the world praises you for it. You're so mature. You're so responsible. You're so strong. But no one ever stops to ask, at what cost? This is the invisible grief of those who grew up too fast, the children who never got to be children. And today, we're going to look inside their minds, their hearts, and the lasting scars they carry into adulthood. Because what begins as survival can easily become a lifetime of self-abandonment. Psychologists have a name for this. It's called parentification, a word that sounds clinical, almost sterile, but what it really describes is heartbreak wearing a smile. Parentification happens when a child becomes the caretaker, the protector, the peacemaker, even the therapist for the very people who were supposed to care for them. Maybe it starts small. Your mom comes home exhausted and defeated, and you rush to cheer her up. Your dad is angry again, so you learn how to tiptoe, how to soothe, how to predict his moods before they explode. You stop crying because it makes things worse. You stop needing because needs create tension. And without realizing it, you begin to manage the emotional climate of your home. But when that happens, it doesn't just hurt, it rewires your brain. A child forced to carry adult emotions learns to live in a state of constant alertness, something psychologists call hypervigilance. It means your nervous system is always scanning for danger, even when everything looks calm. You read every facial expression like it's a secret code. You measure the tone of every word, searching for signs of trouble. And soon, love itself becomes a transaction. You learn that love is earned, not given. You believe that if you can just stay good enough, quiet enough, perfect enough, maybe, just maybe, things won't fall apart again. So you start believing that your own needs are dangerous, and theirs are urgent. You disappear, not physically, but emotionally. You stop showing fear. You stop asking for comfort. You stop being a child, and in your place grows a performer. The good child, the quiet achiever, the one who gets straight A's, never causes trouble, and knows exactly how to make everyone else feel better. You become the friend who listens to everyone's pain, but never shares your own. You're the helper, the fixer, the one who never breaks down, never asks for help, and never complains. People look at you and say, "You're so mature for your age." They think it's a compliment. But what they don't see is that every ounce of that maturity was built on survival. And you wear that mask so convincingly that even you start to believe it. You forget that it's armor. You forget that behind the calm, capable version of you is a child who's terrified. But deep down, something aches. A quiet, almost forgotten voice inside you keeps whispering, "Why didn't anyone protect me?" That's the part of you that still remembers what it felt like to be small and unseen. That's the part that still hopes someone will notice how tired you are from being strong all the time. And the saddest part? That child never stopped waiting. Waiting to be cared for. Waiting to finally exhale. Waiting for someone to say, "You don't have to carry this anymore." Because beneath the strength, beneath the perfection, beneath the smile, there's still a child who never got to just be a child. As that child grows older, the story doesn't end. It doesn't even fade. It simply evolves, changing shape, hiding behind adult faces, adult achievements, and adult responsibilities. You look at this grown-up version of that child, and everything seems fine. They're productive. They're reliable. They're successful. But look closer, and you'll notice that all their strength comes from the same place as their pain. You see, when a child grows up in chaos, their nervous system learns that chaos is home. It becomes the rhythm of their life. And even when life gets calm, that old programming whispers, asterisk, this can't be trusted. Asterisk. So as adults, they keep moving, keep fixing, keep helping, keep achieving because slowing down feels dangerous. Stillness feels wrong. Peace feels suspicious. And love feels like a debt you'll have to repay. You might know this person. In fact, you might be this person. You might be the one who never asks for help because deep down, help feels like a setup. You've learned that relying on someone means giving them power, the power to disappoint you. So you do everything yourself. You become hyper-independent, proud of being strong, but secretly exhausted by the weight of carrying your own world. You might struggle to rest because rest feels like guilt. Every time you sit still, your mind starts racing. You think of what needs to be done, who needs to be helped, what could go wrong if you stop for even a second. Your worth has become tied to your usefulness. And so, you don't rest, you perform. You might overachieve, chasing success as if it's oxygen. You tell yourself, asterisk, if I just work harder, if I just reach this goal, maybe then I'll finally feel enough. Asterisk, but no matter how much you do, the emptiness never fills. Because the success was never meant to replace the safety you lost. And here's the cruel irony. The world rewards you for the very thing that's destroying you. People call you strong, dependable, inspiring. They look up to you. They rely on you. But they don't see that strength was never a choice. It was a survival mechanism. You became strong because being weak wasn't safe. You learned to anticipate everyone else's needs because no one anticipated yours. You became the fixer because it was the only way to feel needed, the only way to belong. You become the one who solves everyone's problems, the shoulder everyone cries on, the steady one in every storm. And yet, no one ever seems to notice when you're the one drowning. Every time someone calls you strong, it stings a little because you know what they really mean is asterisk, I don't have to worry about you. Asterisk, and that hurts because deep down, you wish someone would worry about you. You wish someone would notice that beneath the calm voice and the capable hands, there's a child inside still whispering, asterisk, I'm tired. Asterisk, you might even find yourself sabotaging peace without realizing it. When things finally feel stable, in love, in work, in life, you start to get restless. You pick fights, take on too much, create drama you don't need. Because your nervous system doesn't understand safety, it only understands tension. Calm feels empty. Peace feels boring. And so, you recreate the chaos you grew up in. Not because you want to, but because your body thinks that's what love feels like. You laugh it off. You say, I'm just used to being busy. But it's not just busyness. It's survival mode dressed as productivity. It's control disguised as competence. And the saddest part? You don't even realize you're still living like that scared 7-year-old who had to hold everything together. That child learned to survive by being perfect, quiet, helpful, and strong. And even now, decades later, they're still running the show. The adult you became is built around that child's fear. And every time you reject help, every time you overextend, every time you smile when you want to cry, you're not weak. You're repeating a pattern that once kept you safe. Because when chaos becomes normal in childhood, calm feels unsafe in adulthood. And so, you keep living like the house is always on fire, even when you're standing in a quiet room. But here's what's important to remember. You didn't choose this. You adapted. You survived in the only way you could. And if no one's ever told you this before, that strength you carry, it's not who you are. It's what you had to become. And maybe now, you don't have to keep carrying it alone. Here's the truth. No one is coming to rescue the child you buried. No one is coming to apologize for the things you should never have had to endure. No one is coming to hold that small, trembling version of you and say the words you've waited your whole life to hear. Because now, you're the one who must go back and hold their hand. You are the one who must whisper what no one else ever said. You didn't deserve that. You were just a child. You can rest now. This is the beginning of what therapists call shadow work, the act of turning toward your pain instead of running from it. It's not about fixing yourself or pretending that everything's okay. It's about finally meeting the parts of you that you've been taught to hide, the scared, the angry, the lonely, the unloved. And make no mistake, this work is not pretty. It's not done with candles and mantras and positive quotes. It's raw, messy, and brutally honest. Because healing asks you to feel what you spent your entire life avoiding. It asks you to sit with the grief you never got to express, to cry for the birthdays no one celebrated, to mourn the innocence you lost protecting people who should have protected you. It asks you to look back at that younger version of yourself, the one who tried so hard to be perfect, who carried everyone's burdens, who smiled through the pain, and finally say, asterisk, you don't have to do that anymore. Asterisk, and yes, it hurts. It will feel like your heart is breaking open, because in a way, it is. But that pain isn't weakness, it's proof that you're thawing. What was once frozen inside of you is finally melting. Your emotions, your memories, your truth, all of it is surfacing, not to destroy you, but to free you. And in that quiet, trembling space, something beautiful begins to happen. You start asking your inner child simple, honest questions. What did I need back then that I never got? You'll hear answers, sometimes whispered, sometimes shouted through tears. I needed someone to tell me it wasn't my fault. I needed someone to ask how I was doing. I needed to laugh, to rest, to play without fear. Those answers become your map, because now, for the first time, you can begin to give yourself what you were once denied. You start offering compassion instead of criticism. You allow yourself to rest without earning it. You begin to speak to yourself with gentleness instead of judgment. You stop searching for rescuers and realize you are the one you've been waiting for. This isn't about erasing your past. You can't. It's about breaking free from the loop that keeps replaying it. It's about reclaiming the parts of you that were never broken, only hidden. And slowly, tenderly, you start to feel something you haven't felt in years. Not perfection, not constant happiness, but peace. The kind of peace that comes when you finally stop running from yourself and start coming home. Carl Jung once said, asterisk, there is no coming to consciousness without pain. Asterisk, healing isn't about becoming someone new. It's about remembering who you were before the world told you who to be. If you grew up too fast, your maturity was never the problem. The problem was that you had no choice. But now you do. You can choose softness. You can choose to rest. You can choose to stop managing everyone else's emotions and start honoring your own. And yes, some days you'll feel like a child again. Good. That's the point. Let that child come home. Let them laugh. Let them cry. Let them finally be seen. Because you're not broken. You're becoming whole. You never had a childhood, but you still have a future. And this time, you get to write it. If this story spoke to you, if it felt like a piece of your own life, then don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Because every week, we tell stories that heal, awaken, and remind you. You're not alone. Crescent Moon.